very hot today. So this is well, actually I was gonna say last workout of the week, but it's technically my first workout of the week. My rotation starts from Saturday to Friday, this being my first session. So pull number 1, bent over Smith rows being the first exercise we're kicking off, which is a pretty taxing exercise, so we're doing it first. 2 working sets here, probably looking for some load progressions this week. I might run through like how I set this up, technique, cues and things like that to get the most out of your bent over rows, and how I like to do it to really maximize muscle growth as opposed to just like doing it for strength or, you know, ego. You guys know I talked a lot about training ego versus training muscles, so this will be fun. But I'll run you through how I do it, how it looks. This is probably my last warm-up set, and then we'll move into the working sets. All right, so the way I've got this set up, I've got 2 working sets, 1 top set, 1 back off. Spoke about this a million times, so I won't go into too much detail, but the idea of just having exposure to those heavier loads in the first set and then moving into a lighter set. So we don't necessarily need to do like a different exercise. We can just have exposure to different rep ranges, different intensities, because we know that muscle growth occurs on a big continuum of reps and intensity. So why not exploit that opportunity? With this one, so the Smith machine, I spoke about this on the angle for the Smith machine. So this one being like an angled Smith machine. When we're doing our rows, again, we want the bar sort of sneaking out towards the toes, and as we pull back, it comes towards the belly button. One thing that I really like to do with the Smith row, and the opportunity to do that with the Smith, is you can dead stop. So again, it helps you standardize technique, minimizes the risk of injury, and it also kind of stops any bullshit technique. And I think that's something I really try and get across to everyone, is like no bullshit reps. So we're not like changing our technique, we're not jumping up and down, we're not bouncing it off the floor to lift heavier weight or to progress. It's really staying true to the technique that we've laid with this standardized range of motion. So it's dead stop at the bottom, all the way to the belly button. When I can no longer do that, I've failed, it's technical failure, and I would either just reduce the load or move on to the next exercise. So this one, top set, I've taken a 10 kilo load jump this week, just because I did go well above my rep target. So for the top set, it's only 6 to 8, and then I'll back it off to sort of 10 to 12. Oh, that felt good. Oh, thank God that's done. Wow. All right, so finish rows, onto vertical pull downs, vertical pulls. So this session, just basically 1 primary horizontal row and then a secondary vertical pull. And I really like that session structure to kind of break it up. So you have like 1 primary emphasis, this one being the horizontal row, and then 1 secondary emphasis being the vertical pull. And then you could just literally mirror that in your second pull workout. If you're doing 2 pull sessions per week, you might have a primary pull down variation or chin up variation, and you might have a secondary row variation, which I think is really smart. But this one being single arm, just because in my other pull session, I've got a bilateral pull down. So again, when we're trying to train the lats, got a variety of different movement patterns, positions that we can utilize, both bilateral and unilateral. I think unilateral offers some more advantages for lat specific training, because you can find yourself a little angle or position where you do get a much bigger stretch, and you can emphasize the lats in different, you know, positions or regions. This one, we've kind of got the ability to really stretch the lats and really get a nice sort of, I guess, angle when we set this up with the Nautilus pull down. It's a really, really cool piece of machinery. Not many gyms have it, so very fortunate to be able to train with it today. But 3 working sets, 10 to 15 reps. I didn't hit all of the reps at my load last week, so all I've done this week is just taking rep progressions this week. I do have 3 sets, so it does make it a little trickier to take load progression. So aiming for around 13 to 15 reps on this first set. Just trying to beat it last week. I only did 12 on the first set, so just trying to do a little bit more here. Oh, wow. 15. 3 rep progression. Now I'm gonna match the other side. Oh, I'm very happy with that. Top end of the rep bracket for a first set. So hypothetically next week I could take a load progression there. But I'll just take some rep jumps on these next couple of sets. I guess this is an important point to bring up about unilateral training. Whether it's upper body, lower body, doesn't really matter. But it's more to do with rest times. So you should be resting enough between arms so that you're not carrying too much fatigue into your next set. Because whatever you do on that first side, you're gonna carry over fatigue on that second side. So if you do that first side and you're gassed and you go straight into the opposite side, you're not gonna perform as well. So instead of like resting 2 minutes after doing both sides, you could basically just rest like a minute or two between each side and just roll it that way. So you can literally do like left arm, rest a minute to 2 minutes, right arm, rest a minute to 2 minutes, and just repeat that process for any unilateral training to get the most out of it. All right, so the back portion of that pull session is done. We're on to rear delts. 2 working sets of rear delts. And something that I got asked this week was around rear delt training. Like, do you need to do it? How does it relate to your pull training? And I suppose more, broadly, how does shoulder training fit into the scheme of your actual programming? So when we looked at like pressing movements, I think if you're a bodybuilder specifically, you probably want to spend more time doing incline pressing variations, which will train quite a lot of anterior delts. So you might only need a couple of sets of like overhead pressing to train the anterior delts specifically. With rear delts, you do get a lot of rear delt volume accumulated across the week if you're training back. So for example, if I'm doing six sets of back today, 6 sets of back in a couple of days time, it might be around, it's a total of 12 sets of back training. It might be around 6 sets of indirect rear delt training. So I probably only need to do maybe 2 to 4 extra sets across the week to kind of get enough volume. Where when we spoke about the lateral delts only get meaningful contribution to overhead pressing in a small capacity. There's no real lengthened work in the shoulder pressing, so specifically for lateral delts. So we probably do want to bias a little bit more like lateral delt isolation work throughout the week for our shoulders if we do want to develop them. So anyway, we'll jump into this. Rear delt fly, nothing fancy, 2 working sets, 10 to 15 reps. Alright, so this pull session is a lot of bicep work, so that's my primary bicep session for the week. So lots of bicep stuff to get done. We've got about 5 or 6 sets of direct bicep work. This one being probably the hardest one. So it's like a single arm seated bicep curl with a little bit of a twist, literally. I'll show you how I do it, but really, really nasty in that sort of mid to contractor position. And then as we get later into the session, we got some more length and bias stuff. So a nice broad variety of exercises to choose from in this session. But 2 working sets, 8 to 12 reps here. I think I've got to match like 1 rep from last week. So I think I'm trying to get 1 rep extra, which I have been fighting for dear life to get an extra rep each week. So if I get it this week, I'll be very happy. Yes! Oh, I've been hunting that rep for so long. Ooh. Oh, that is impossible. Right, so I'm very happy that we took the rep progressions on that dumbbell curl. That was fucking hard. And one thing I did notice, now that it's gotten pretty heavy, the seated position is just becoming more difficult because it's like pulling me off the bench. So second set I actually did standing, holding onto like a more anchored, like upright. It's on a big squat rack. So it's a little bit nicer to just stay stable and not fall off the bench. But looking to probably take a small load jump next week, which will be fun. Actually, maybe not, because the next jump up is 27.5. And that's probably a good point to bring up actually. When we're looking at like load jumps on isolation exercises, especially with dumbbells, most dumbbells go up by like 2.5 kilos. So if we're looking at like a 20 kilo dumbbell and we go by 2 kilos, it almost ends up like a 10% load jump. When we're looking at like normal logical progressions, might be like 2 to 5% max load jump, you know, every week or every other week. So in the case of dumbbells, what I like to do specifically is if I've got a rep target, let's say 8 to 12, I'll try and choose a load that gets me to, you know, a close proximity to failure at the top end of the rep bracket for both working sets. Then instead of just jumping up load the next week because it's going to be that 10% load jump, I might try and go a couple of reps above my rep target. So I might try and shoot for 13 or 14 before I take a load jump, because that 10% load jump is going to knock me down quite significantly. So if I'm at like 14, I increase the load, I might get down to 8, and then I've got a nice runway for progression there again, where if I only got to maybe 10, 11, 12 reps and I jump the load up, I'm probably going to drop down to 4 or 5, which is probably going to render that set less effective for what I'm trying to achieve anyway. But moving on to the last couple of bicep exercises, we've got a superset here. a pretty underutilized, I guess, training technique is supersets, and like same set muscles being supersetted because of the fatigue, and you know, you don't need to chase pump and all this kind of shit. But in the case of hypertrophy, everything works. So why not try it? If there's a potential advantage there, absence of evidence doesn't mean the evidence is absent. So if it's fun, if you enjoy it, if you get a pump and you get progression in some fashion, why not do it? So length and bias cable curl, supersetted with high cable bicep curl, more length and bias, more short and biased in a superset, which I find really fun, really hard. So I'll show you guys how it looks. Whoa, that smoked me. Okay, we're on to our last exercise. My arms are absolutely smoked. I think this is the biggest pump I've ever had. But again, don't let any TikTok optimal bros hear the word pump, they'll have a meltdown. So we finished the superset, length and bias, short and bias, cable curls, 2 working sets. Last exercise, single arm dumbbell preacher curl. And across the totality of this session, we had exercises from all different ranges and angles, biasing different positions, which I think is a great way to set this up because it is pretty much, I think this is the only bicep work I do for the week, so why not hammer it? This one to finish off being more brachialis, brachioradialis, where the other exercises were more sort of bicep, short head, long head. So we're trying to develop the arm fully and completely, overall thickness and peak / shape. But yeah, that's it. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just relentless repetition. Pursuit of progression is the aim of the game. So we'll finish this off, last working set, and then I'm out of here. Time to go home and eat. And I've got my post-workout cream of rice. So depending on when this video drops, which I assume will be today, you guys will have to see tomorrow. Come check back in and you'll see the recipe for the cream of rice. But that's it. We'll rip in. Last one. The joys of carbohydrates. Despite feeling like crap, performance has been great. So if anyone argues that you don't need carbohydrates to perform, you do. It makes a substantial difference to your overall training performance and look for that matter too, because I look crazy today. All right, that is us done, guys. I'm smoked. Rest day tomorrow, earned that one. And then I'll see you guys back in here for Monday push for week 2 of the Prep Series vlog. Until next time.